Hello and good morning. Welcome to a snowy Igls in Austria, a small village just on the mountainside above Innsbruck and twice an Olympic venue. In the 1960s, it was a natural track similar to all tracks of that age, built by hand from snow and ice. And now it is an artificial track dating back to the 1970s. And this weekend, the 8th race of the FIBT Wiesmann World Cup Skeleton Series also is the European Championships. Well, sitting alongside me is Olympic champion John Montgomery. And John, this Igls track is one that most sliders learn on, but it's still not without its difficulties.
Well, it is one of the few tracks where you see kinder start close to the bottom of the track. They start their athletes really young here. And at the top of the track here, they've got a really small corner one. And this is the part of the track where you're just sort of laying there. You're not doing a whole lot. You're trying to maintain aerodynamic form. Coming off of corner two into corner two into three here, you're starting to think about your form. And you're setting up a labyrinth section coming into corner four here, where you want to be middle into this corner five. If you're in too early, it pushes you low and makes it difficult to get six. And you want to go late into this corner, one of the very few corners in the world where you want to go in late. It's a Kreisel corner. You go up, you go down. It's only two pressure, but then this straightaway there is really tricky. You saw the cameraman hit the right-hand wall there. Coming into corner 9, really sharp pressure. Coming down the straightaway into 10, you want to take it to the roof and bring it off early enough so that you can get over to corner 11, so that you don't begin a flip-flop through this labyrinth section, which is very easy to do. Coming into the final curve, corner 14 here, a single pressure corner which can turn into a double, and then the most ominous portion of the track, the outrun. It is horrible here in Igls, Austria, and without question, the area of the track where you're most likely to be injured.
Well, that's what everybody's been talking about. Talking to your teammate Eric Nielsen yesterday, he was saying all the way down the run. I was just thinking about the outrun.
It's frightening, to say the least.
Well, Marion Thies is our World Cup points leader in a season that has seen only one woman claim 2 victories, and it is the German on top of the points. Reigning European champion Anja Huber lies in 2nd place. Last year's World Cup champion Shelley Rudman, who won on this track a couple of seasons ago to claim the European Championship, she lies in 7th spot. And Noelle Pikus-Pace, from a standing start, returning from 2 or 3 years away from the sport, already on the fringes of the top 10. She won last time out for the first time in 9 years, not all of which, I should say, she was actually competing. In fact, much less than half of which she was competing. But we've got a very big field today. We've got 26 women in the skeleton field, including 2 first-time World Cup sliders that we'll see later on. And as ever, that field will be cut down to 20 for the second heat. Well, John Montgomery, the pressure obviously then for anybody starting much below position 15 is, you know, that all the people behind you, 50% of you, aren't going to get a race.
There are people that won't make the second cut today, and for those who call Europe home, this is a big deal. Today is the European Championships, and for them, that means something. That's a title that you can proudly wear for the rest of your life, and so you know that they're going to be gunning for it, and there is a bigger field today, and like you said, only the top 20 make the second heat.
Nice and cold, around -6 degrees. It's pretty crisp and clear, and the ice is fast, but the ice is pretty chattery as well. A lot of the guys have been saying that it's fairly bumpy.
They've had a number of races here. I don't know what they can lay claim to for track workers. They're not as prevalent, perhaps, as they are in Altenburg. And the track has been a little bit bumpy here, and we've had snow all week. So today you could see a bit of problems when it comes to timing and steering. The athletes haven't had necessarily the grip that they're going to have, and the ice will be faster, I believe, today.
Shelley Rudman and Anja Huber, who have won the European Championship the last 5 straight outings, are 1st and 2nd, from Lizzie Arnold and Sarah Reid. And we should be looking, John, among this list for the big fast starters. Lizzie Arnold, Sarah Reid, maybe some of the other real quick starters. Because the track is so short, it's hard to make up a start deficit.
There's no question that Igls is one of the, without question, probably the most advantage you can have on the start. A pusher's track, definitely. And there's no opportunity to really make a mistake at the top of the track. When you reach terminal velocity, probably by the finish line. And for athletes like Marion Thies, who are real drivers, they just don't have that opportunity to pick away at the field like they can on some of the longer tracks.
The first sled on the ice, FIBT World Cup number 8 of the women's skeleton season, is Shelley Rudman, former European champion. She won on this track 2 seasons ago. A little bit of ice there, just getting in her way.
Clean the chips away.
5th place in last year's race at Igls, which was then the season opener.
Coming into corner 2 here. Not too early. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see the athletes go too early into that corner and get bumped down. They'll begin to wave. And the same coming into corner 3 right there. Nice entry. The difficult part with the exit of this corner is staying off that right-hand wall. And Shelley made a fantastic exit there. Maybe just a touch early to 5, but no brush on the exit. You can see her aiming for that late entry into corner 7. And that's the problem with the exit of corner 7, going late into 8. You can't build your pressure around late enough in 8. And you saw her struggle with that a little bit and still skidding down the straightaway to corner 10. 1:16.4, that's not the kind of speed that we saw some of the athletes put down in training, closer to 1:17, 1:18.
She crosses the line, 55.81, seemed to be slithering around a lot. Now, it seems facetious to suggest that the ice is very slippery, but she was really quite skiddy. Is that something you might have expected?
You don't expect that from Shelley. You know, she is one of the best drivers out there. She's got some of the most experience on the tour. And to see her sliding around a little bit like that leads me to believe that maybe she went with some pretty unaggressive runners today. And this may be costly to her when it comes to how she fares against some of the other athletes yet to come.
It seems almost counterintuitive, but
here you can see a good example of what we're talking about. When she breaks away, the runners are not parallel there. She's actually going sideways, and that back half of that runner edge is making contact with the ice and stopping her like a hockey skate.
She's finally feeling a bit less foul than she did the last week or so. Got rid of the flu. Next up, Anja Huber of Germany, bronze medalist in the Whistler Games and 2008 world champion. She's been 4 times a European champion, including last season.
This will be a good indicator of what the ice is actually going to be presenting us with here today.
She starts in the other groove, so it gives us a chance to see which one is working well. They both seem to be leading on straight.
Nice and straight out of the groove and not too early to corner 2. Really slow here at the top of the track. You're really just breathing on and off of these corners.
A little faster start, a little higher speed than Shelley Rudman.
And that's the kind of speed that's going to continue to build. She's only going to pull away from an athlete like Shelley Rudman with the increase in speed at the top of the track.
And getting a little sideways on the straights, 85.5, slower than Shelley now.
But a better exit of corner 7, Kreisel, and much better through 8. She's going to have a better straightaway speed here to corner 10 if she can stay off that wall.
Again, skiddy, 96.8. She is quicker by half a kilometre an hour. Gaps back out to 1700s. And again, quicker than Shelley down at the bottom of the track. So she could see a 3/10 up maybe. 1500s, it didn't go that big.
55.66, not the kind of difference I was expecting to see when Anja crossed the finish line. I was expecting to see a greater margin there. So maybe Shelley's run was pretty good. Going with a less aggressive runner paid dividends. Only if she could have kept those runners straight, she would have been right there in the mix of things.
So there's your reigning European champion. Let's take a look at her run.
Coming out of corner 8 here, she does a pretty good job of getting over early to corner 9. Not quite as early as she would have liked, but in corner 9, there's this small second pressure as she just gets up on the short wall there, pushing her over to the left-hand side. And that's the challenge, exiting corner 9, that you're going to see the athletes fighting today, is trying to stay off that left-hand wall.
Third of our starters is Great Britain's Lizzie Arnold, girl from Maidstone in Kent.
Lizzie's got some wheels and she should be able to get herself out. She didn't get much over the crest, though. She really needs to lengthen that out a little bit and push a few more strides over the crest. With a 5.62, that's not the kind of competitive start that we've seen from Lizzie in the past.
72, same speed as Shelley Rudman.
Nice exit of corner 3. Not too early to 5. Looks like she's really linking up these turns quite nicely here at the top of the track. Really late into corner 7, and she's keeping it low. You see those blue lines there. If you can have a nice smooth trajectory around those blue lines, you're probably going to have a decent exit. Early into 9. Ooh, and a bump off that left-hand wall.
97.2, quicker than we've seen from anybody else so far.
1:17.7, that's the fastest by a long shot.
Yep. Kilometre an hour quicker than Anja Huber, so can she close the gap from 800s at the line? She's 100 behind. We've got a race on our hands.
One of the exciting things about racing in Igls is how close the downtimes are to one another. Because it's a short track, because it's not a technically challenging track, athletes can do a little bit more laying there, and the separation, the gap in time isn't as great as some places like Whistler, like Altenburg. Here's her start. Looks like she's getting some pretty good power into the ice, but as you'll see here, she doesn't get very far over the crest and accelerate downhill. She needed to take a few more steps there and really use the length of the start. Exit of corner 9 here. Nice beeline for that left-hand wall, and had she been able to have a nice smooth exit at corner 9, she definitely would have been able to take the lead on that first run.
Interesting to see Lizzie not starting as quick as we might have expected. Sarah Reed, however, we do expect to see a big, quick start from her.
She's a firecracker pusher, and she's going to be laying the gauntlet down for these athletes as far as the start time is concerned here. And I think because Sarah is so competitive on the start here, you're going to see her in the mix at the top of the heat today.
Coach Duff Gibson not here this weekend, incidentally. He's a firefighter back home, and he's gone back home to be a firefighter for a week. He'll be back for St. Moritz. 5:55 getaway.
Nice start for Sarah, and a little bit early to corner 2 there.
Top speed, so she's got good speed and good momentum as well.
Fallen just 200ths back of Anya Huber.
Posted a top 10 finish last year. That was her first race of the season, like everybody else.
Oh, that left-hand hit out of corner 7. That's costly, and you're going to see her have a bit of slower speeds here, but a nice straightaway from corner 9 to corner 10, and she should be able to get some of that speed back that where other athletes lost hitting that wall. 1:17.7, good bottom-end speed. She's going to be kicking herself for that small hit out of Kreisel.
She may still have the lead of the race. No, 300ths of a second back.
Wow, 3 athletes within 3 100ths. This is definitely going to be a battle for medals come this second heat.
We've only had 4 girls down. We've got lots of room to shove another few there.
No kidding.
Back as well.
It's going to be a bit of a logjam. I'm pretty sure around that 55 mid mark. Sarah knows full well where she lost some time on that run, hitting at the exit of Kreisel. You can see her come here through that first pressure just a little bit high, gets low below that blue line here, and with the increased height at the end of the corner, takes that small left-hand bump here. Does a really good job of keeping her runner straight after that hit. Too high, and then wham, right there on the left-hand side. Sarah knows that she's got probably a 10th or more to work with if she can straighten that out for the second run.
Also heard her saying that she thought she had a bit of a sticky groove as well. It's quite frosty. It's quite damp in the air still. There's no sun out, not cold and crisp. Next up, Canada's Melissa Hollingsworth. Bronze medal here in this race last year.
Bronze medal to 2 athletes that aren't real podium threats in most races, with Olga Polopachina and retired athlete Emma Lincoln-Smith of Australia.
Emma led after the first heat, very nearly took her first ever World Cup win.
Really
5.73.
Melissa with a really nice 1-2 there. Getting nice in middle, avoiding that build-up at the corner of 3. Beautiful top portion of the track. Probably one of the best tops we've seen so far from any of the athletes. Virtually motionless, trying to achieve her lines, but a little bit earlier than what she would have liked. Pushing her low and a bit high. And Melissa's been struggling with the exit of Kreisel today. She managed to stay off the walls, but she is late into 9. Not good. But does a really great job of navigating that corner in one of the best exits of 9 with a late entry. Not ideal for sure. 1:17.3, she's 3/10ths back because of the start deficit. And chips that away to 2,600ths deficit behind the leaders right now.
Well, is this the sort of track, John, where your experience can allow you to really sort of polish yourself and have tricks that others might not know?
It's not one of the best tracks for those types of situations, honestly, Martin, because there's not a whole lot to do. Some of the less experienced athletes can get, with a really fast start, can reap the rewards for it. And because Melissa, you can see her digging hard, doing as much as she can to get as quick a start as possible, and getting over that crest, like we were mentioning, Lizzie Arnold needed to. Melissa did take advantage of that, but she didn't have the start compared to some of the other quicker athletes, but did have a really great execution of her lines. And there she is high, and floppy because of that linking up the bottom section of the track just did not quite like she was hoping to.
Next up, Katie Uhlaender of the USA. Didn't race here last year. She was doing a pre-London 2012 weightlifting tryout competition. So she joined us in La Plan, which was the second race of the season. So it's been a couple of years since Katie's been on the track. 5:66 getaway puts her in the frame.
10th behind at this point from your race leader. She's going to have to do her absolute perfect best to be able to catch them at this point. Dropping to 1300s back, and she's going to continue to lose time till probably around corner 7, at which point she'll have an opportunity to pick away a bit of that time. Already bringing it back, though. She's reeled them in by 200s.
She's got very good speed, only one girl quicker.
And a good exit of Kreisel. Falling back a little bit more, maybe done a little bit too much work in Kreisel, but a beautiful exit of 9. That's going to get her some speed at the bottom of the track here. Looks like she's got a good heading. 1:17.4, that's competitive. Yesterday we saw some wicked exits of of corner 14 at the bottom there, and she really reels them back in towards the bottom of the track. She's only 600s back right now. We definitely are going to have a logjam in there for the second run.
Yeah, choosing a medal contender out of this is not going to be easy, narrowing it down from one of maybe 10 or 12 candidates. She's 4th, just 600ths of a second off the lead.
It'll be a crapshoot for the second heat for sure. Really powerful start. Katie's an Olympic lifter, and that really lends itself to digging deep and getting a lot of power into the ice, propelling her forward. And she could have taken a couple of extra steps herself there on the start.
Great momentum in the first couple of corners as well from Anja Huber and Sarah Reed from their quicker starts. Katie really got the power into the sled.
And it's all about that last step. You want to really drive with your very last foot strike and propel your sled forward, because that's the only opportunity you've got to create velocity. The rest of the way is just maintenance.
Yellow vest of our World Cup leader, Marion Tace. When you're any kind of performer, some venues will suit you, some won't. And this has got to be on the least suitable for Marion Tace. Top 2, I would think.
We've seen speeds at 1:17 at the bottom of the track. You're going to see speeds from Marion around 1:19, but she's just not going to be there. She's probably going to be, if she's perfect, somewhere from 1/10 to 2/10 back of those race leaders at the bottom of the track, simply because of her start deficit at 5.89.
Well, she's 3,500s back from our race leader, or from Sarah Reed, the quickest starter, who's in 3rd place. She should be 9/10 of a second back by pure rule of thumb.
Already 6/10 back, and she's not going to start to pick away at that 6/10 until somewhere around here. And she's still dropping back 6/10 simply because of her start deficit. And now you're going to see Marion turn on the afterburners, but the track simply isn't long enough to be able to pick away 6/10 at a really not a very technically demanding.
Good speed, 97.6 is the quickest we've seen.
5/10, so she's chipping away. She'll get it somewhere down to around that 3/10 here marked by the bottom of the track. 4/10. And for your World Cup overall race leader, coming to Igls is like taking a bullet. She knows that she's not going to be competitive this week to the level that she's used to, and this is going to definitely take a hit, but she's built up a pretty big margin in terms of point spread between her and second place, and she should be able to hold on to her overall World Cup lead here this week in Igls.
Exactly right. She's 100 points ahead of Anja Huber.
High there at the exit of corner 8, or excuse me, corner 9, and she's drifting a little bit left. See her a little bit high on the corner of exit 12 there. Some of the athletes will be.
If Marion finishes 14th or above, no matter what Anja does, she will still have the World Cup lead heading to the World Championships.
And I think that's doable for her.
Yeah, definitely, unless she has a crash in Heat 2. Lucy Chaffer of Australia next up. Emma Lincoln-Smith, now retired, her teammate last year, led after Heat 1. Explosive starting from Lucy, runs it nicely over the top. See what she's got.
A little early to corner 1 there, going a little bit later into corner 2, but that's not bad at all.
6th place finish last year. There were 2 Aussies in the top 6.
Trying to stay off this left-hand wall there, does a nice job exiting corner 3 and linking up corner 4 and 5 here. Small labyrinth section at the top of the track, struggling a little bit to get over to corner 6. And in my opinion, just a little bit too early to Kreisel there. You see her get a bit high from getting pushed low. There's a buildup of ice at the beginning of that corner. Nice and early into corner 9 here. Ooh, just getting pushed off the end of that corner. Needed to pick it a little bit harder, steering down at the exit of corner 9. Late into 12, you might see her be a little bit floppy off of that corner, having a nice bottom section.
Okay, 5th place. She closed nicely. She was out to 2800ths away coming out of the Kreisel. Brought it down by 1500ths, so halved that deficit to the line.
Coach Eric Bernotis was happy with that run, and so should Lucy be.
Well, this is a fairly straightforward track. This is why they start juniors here, and that means it's even harder to find those little tenths.
That's just it. It's so easy that it's hard. Sometimes you are flabbergasted where your time went because you didn't touch a wall, you didn't do anything. But sometimes to achieve the lines that you got, you worked just a bit too hard here. As you can see, she just needed to steer down a little bit sooner, a little bit harder there, and she would have been under that last pressure and been able to stay off that left wall.
She looks pretty happy with herself. She's the 8th of our 26 starters. Next up, Cassie Haresh. And a rookie here, so for Cassie, first time in Europe, everything is brand new. 2 4th place results in North America, her best of the season so far.
This is the first week which in the last 4 races that Cassie has actually been to the track. This week she's been here to Igls before, and this is the first of the Willie Schneider sleds in today's competition that we're going to see. And in training they were all pretty quick. Cassie runs it nice and deep over the crest. We'll see how the Schneiderville equipment does on the Igls track today. The Russians were all using it last week at the ICC race and took top spots in both men's and women's competitions. A little bit of a brush there off the right-hand wall at the exit of corner 3, but pieces it back together nicely for the top of the track. A little bit early to Kreisel here. You're going to see her high on that first pressure above those blue lines, dip down below. And going late into corner 8 here. This isn't what you want to have happen. And late into 9, again, not the ideal lines that you want to take, but does a good job of correcting it through the corner. 96.1, decent speeds. 116.2, not the kind of speeds we're seeing from the top athletes at the bottom of the track, and she's going to continue to fall behind the race leaders at this point. 4 tenths back.
Last year's North American Cup champion, and first time on the full World Cup tour for Cassie. Now, the Canadian skeleton program is already strong, but John, I gather that in Calgary this week you're having another big push for recruitment because, of course, nobody gets any younger in sport, do they?
Well, we're always looking for the up-and-comers, for that next generation of athletes, and Cassie is that for us right now. She's a new athlete. This is only her 3rd or 4th year of sliding, and she's got lots to learn and so much to offer the program, but we're always looking for that next one. Corner 9 there, you saw her go in late, peak too early, and not get that pressure around there. She had to do a lot of work to stay off that left wall, and consequently skid it out a little bit. There you see her weighing both herself and her sled at the bottom of the track. They only do that after the first run.
Next up, Noelle Pikus-Pace, winner last weekend. And she is the first of our 5 athletes who could win €100,000 in the FIBT Triple Trophy. If you win last week in Koenigsee, here in Igls, and the final World Cup race in Sochi, Russia, in any of the 5 FIBT disciplines, boy, you're going to have a good summer somewhere.
Well, and with Noelle's improved performance on the start, she's got an opportunity to really be competitive here, and I think that you'll see her right there at the top of the heap with the fastest athletes today. She's already only 1/100th of a second back, and she's clipping away at that start deficit with probably the best exit of Kreisel we've seen so far. She's going to continue to pull away here. Best exit, or best entrance to corner 9 there, and doing very little to stay off that left-hand wall.
Well, she's only won 4 World Cup races in her career.
118.7, Martin. She is flying, and you're going to see her pull away from the field here at the bottom of the track. She's going to be your new race leader.
Yes, she is, by a massive margin.
34/100ths of a second. Noelle Pikus-Pace just said, hey, I want that 100K.
Well, she was jubilant and terrified when I mentioned it to her last week after the win in Koenigsee, but...
Hi, everybody watching.
And Noelle's a gamer. You know she's used to the pressure to perform. And then you can see her going into Kreisel here. She dips just below that blue line, but comes out, stays low, and keeps it off that left-hand wall there and avoids the contact.
She's like you, John. She has a unique sled built by her husband, a new Quest sled. But it's the start, it's the slide, it's everything. Noelle Pikus-Pace leads a tightly packed field by a massive margin.
Logjam between 4th and 7th, and she is in front by 3/10. That just goes to show how great of a run that was and how effective her equipment was today on this Igls track.
Cool, we're on a break. Hey, school kids.
Future Skeletors. These kids are all going down the track next.
Yeah, probably. Well, we were here last week, last year. They, you know, sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the evenings, they had kids that age, 3, 4, 5, 6, going off in a little blue start.
That's awesome.
Die Janine, die kennt ja schon seit Jahren hier, um wirklich sich gerade richtig einzunisten in den vollen Minute. Erziehungen, dann wieder so leichte Rückschläge. Ist schon lange dabei. Das große Talent hat sich inzwischen auch schon Routine. Und es muss immer alles zusammenpassen. Verschicken. Auf dem neuesten, besten technischen Stand die Abstimmung der Kufen und natürlich auch die Balance, die Fahrweise, die Linie in der Bahn. Nur dann ist man in der absoluten Weltklasse vorne dabei und eben nicht nur einmal, sondern immer wieder, wie es einige dieser Athletinnen, die wir jetzt bereits bewundert haben, über diesen Weltcup liegen und auch in den Jahren zuvor schon bewiesen haben. Janine Flock, Anja Hofer hat natürlich auch einen Fanclub hier und wir schauen wieder langsam nach oben.
Wiesmann FIBT World Cup number 8 for the women's skeleton. We're in Igls in Austria, just outside the Olympic city of Innsbruck. 11th of our 26 starters is Michelle Steele of Australia. Best result of the season for her, 5th place in Winterberg when we got to Germany just before Christmas. Starts 5.61.
Ooh, she's a little bit early to corner 1 there, and it pushed her late into corner 2. So she's working a little bit through there. Only two-handed starter in the field left on tour.
I'm Martin Haven, sitting alongside me, Olympic champion John Montgomery. Michelle, just 0.05 of a second off the runaway leader, Noelle Pikus-Pace. This looks like it might be quite a slide.
10th at this point, you're going to see grow to even more here at the exit of Kreisel, where Noelle was really clean. Michelle's a little bit late to corner 8 there and going late into 9, having to do more work to stay off that left-hand wall at the exit of the corner there. 117.0, back of our race leader by over 1.5 kilometers an hour.
And a yawning gap opening up, 0.45 of a second, leaves her in 6th position, but we're going to have to try and put ourselves in mind of what normally happens in a men's race, where once Martin Stukos has gone and opened up a 3/10 advantage, everybody else looks definitely second hand.
Well, and you can qualify that by saying she's only 0.15 out of 2nd place at this point in time. She's part of that log jam there. She's at the back end of that log jam, but here you can see her utilizing that two-handed start, keeping those feet nice and straight. Nice linear power into the ice and really digs off that last step that we were talking about before. Gets it over the crest and has a really effectual last step. Gets a little bit early to corner 1, though.
Hi, Bet.
Janine Flock, the hometown hero, the Austrian girl, ready at the top of the track here. Just 23 years old, from local village of Rum.
I'm not sure what that symbol on her helmet means. It's a cow with a halo above it.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
I thought you would have been straight there. Started sliding on this track aged just 13. Bit of a late starter. She may well have been doing junior luge before that.
Well, she's got a great deal of familiarity with this track, and sometimes that can play to your benefit, and sometimes you can overthink something that you've done countless times. Doing more work than necessary.
Starts 5:62, so a 10th back from some of our faster starters, nearly.
Really nice lines here at the top of the track. Very Melissa Hollingsworth-esque as far as how she's linking up those top corners, doing very little to achieve them. She's a 10th back of Noelle at this point in time.
And half a kilometre now down on speed.
Really nice exit of Kreisel there, and beautiful line through 8 and 9 here. Taking a really small hit. That shouldn't be too bad as far as scrubbing speed on that left-hand wall hit out of corner 9, and 117.8. She has got the same kind of speed that we saw everybody behind Noelle Pikus-Pace have so far, and she's 55.59. She is in second place. Beautiful run, and Coach Martin Rettel there, 2002 Olympic silver medalist, showing the please that he's got for that kind of run from his athlete.
Yeah, she went from 4th place to 2nd place in the final corner. And the Austrian bobsledders are famous for a low line there to garner speed, and maybe that works for Skeleton as well.
Well, you know that she's got the inside secrets, and when you're looking for hundredths of a second to separate herself from that 3rd place athlete, that may very well be where she found it. Coming out here, keep it nice and low. Good profile, good form, and 85.5 for speed. She's slower than Pikus-Pace, Rudman, and Haresh out of there. But she had beautiful lines through some of the other portions of the track, which allowed her to keep her energy. Here at the exit of Kreisel there, she gets a little bit high, but she had a beautiful exit into corner 8 and into corner 9, doing very little work to navigate those corners where other athletes we saw come in late and scrub speed.
Donna Crichton of Great Britain. Let's see what she's got in the start. Fast start at the moment is a 5:55 from Canada's Sarah Reed.
Donna's typically a push monster herself, and with a 5:52, she's got the fastest getaway of the day.
Noelle Pikus-Pace starting an astonishing 5:58, and that all helps lay the foundations.
Still 500s up. Nice and middle into 5, getting off that right-hand wall at the exit of 5 here, coming down. Small scrub into Kreisel there. That's not going to help her for speed, and she's pretty high and pretty low on those oscillations.
Tiny bump on the wall. She's gone from 500s up to 2/10s back.
She's not going to find that speed now at the bottom of the track. There's just no opportunity to get it back. What she's trying to do right now is stop the bleeding.
We've seen 97s there, and she's 3 kilometers an hour down at the bottom as well.
Coming across the finish line, 6,600 back of race leader Noelle Pikus-Pace, and just a small margin off of that log jam there. She's at the back of that pack right now, and she's going to have her work cut out for her to be able to do some leapfrogging on the second run.
She's between Melissa Hollingsworth and Cassie Haresh of Canada.
Happy birthday, Mum.
Well prepared in every eventuality. Well done.
She was thinking about that ahead of time. Had the sign made up and had her coach give it to her at the finish line.
Absolutely perfect. She could have tucked it up a vest. It's not going to come out once you're lying on your sled, is it?
No.
There you go. Sophia Griebel of Germany next up. This young girl joined the World Cup in the middle of the season. She's the reigning junior world champion. Her first World Cup race ever was in Altenburg, where she was 9th. She was 6th last week in Koenigsee. And this is where she won her junior world championship title, so she clearly has at least some passing knowledge of this Igls track here in Austria.
Well, these Germans come here quite often, I think, for training, and especially as young sliders, because it is an easy track. That's where they cut their teeth and really learn about the sport. And Sophia now with 2 World Cup races under her belt. She's got the jitters out of the way, and she can simply go and execute like she's been doing on some of the lower circuits, the ICC and the EC tours, and really dominating there. Nice line out of corner 3 here. She's already 3/10 back, and that's simply, again, because of her the start deficit at the top of the track. Fighting for that middle line into Kreisel, gets a little bit high, and a great line. Probably the best exit we've seen from any of the athletes coming out of Kreisel so far. Nice and early into corner 9, but a bit high at the end there. Takes that left-hand wall hit, 96.9. Her speed coming out of corner 9, that's good speed. 117.5, that's what we've seen from the other athletes in that log jam. Just behind Noelle Pikus-Pace, your race leader at this point.
Closing a little on the top 10, 55.95 leaves her 0.03 of a second out of the top 10 finish. And in fact, she was the silver medalist in the Junior Worlds here in January, not the gold medalist. She will come later, Yelena Nikitina of Russia.
Just goes to show, she's 11th here in the World Cup and 2nd at the World Juniors. There is a lot of learning to be done, from becoming a junior athlete to making the ranks on your way up into the World Cup. And you can see her, part of that is because most of the World Cup athletes are avoiding that left wall hit there out of corner 9. And some of the athletes with a little extra experience on the World Cup Tour are going to take that bump.
Experience is so much a part of this sport. The athleticism is there, but you've got to know the tracks because the time you have to learn them is so limited. Well, next up is Russia's Maria Orlova. 6th in last year's European Championships. And she had a dreadful weekend in Igls, just 16th spot last year.
Well, you can see the influence from a great coach like Willie Schneider. He's got the Russian athletes now sewing their bibs, where you used to see them fly down the track, Alex Trechikov namely, with their bib flapping in the wind. And any of that flapping, any of that excess material moving around in the wind is definitely slowing you down.
She's in the green. She leads the race from Noelle Pikus-Pace off a 5:54 start.
She's a 10th up already.
Well, now this might be a track where mass helps. Like Noelle, she's not, you know, small like Sarah Reed or maybe Donna Crichton.
Well, and she's got some pretty unaggressive gear, and we've seen some pretty good speeds achieved. Really nice and early into corner 9. Flat line through there.
Wow, last year it was a breakout win for Yelena Nikitina. Maria Orlova, her teammate, is perhaps having the best slide of her World Cup career.
1:17.6, good speeds, and she's only less than a 10th back from Noelle Pikus-Pace. She could be in 2nd place here.
And she will be in 2nd place. Wow, what a boost for her career.
Coach Schneider there happily looking on, and you've got 2 more Russians coming up here, and in training they were ripping pretty good. They had good speeds. And this is a track where last year you saw Olga Polopachina come from really nowhere and win the race.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. Maria looking fairly focused after that. Normally she's all beaming smiles. That's a look of real determination.
She is serious here today. She knows that she had a good first run, but the race isn't over. You got to have a good second one here. Nice and flat through Kreisel here, doing very little work to achieve the line that she wants. And coming out, she's lower at the end there, takes a quick peek, and gets that toe down to keep that sled going straight. 96.8, not the best speed coming out of Kreisel, but she had a really great 8 and nice and early into 9. Probably the best 9 and the earliest to 9 that we've seen so far. Goes to show how important that corner is for scrubbing speed, and if you can do it right, maintaining speed.
Olga Pochilitsina of Russia, last year's shock winner, I think it's fair to say, here in Igls in Austria. Can she oust her teammate Maria Orlova? Can she beat Noelle Pikus-Pace for the lead here?
Sliding on a Duker sled, not a Schneider sled like her teammate Maria Orlova, who just went down the track, so we'll see the difference between the equipment might make. Nice smooth lines at the top of the track here, not waving at all. Really nice line through corner 3 to 4. A bit high at the end of 4. She's working to stay off that entrance of 5.
And she was tied for the lead with Noelle Pikus-Pace, 85.7.
300s back. Nice smooth line through Kreisel here. Let's see what kind of an exit she can get. Ooh, bit of a rougher exit than Maria Orlova. And not quite as early to 9 here. Oh, that is going to cost her some speed at the bottom of the track, but she's got higher speed, 97.1. Let's see if she can maintain it. Early to corner 11, she's going to be floppy here through 12.
Oh dear, dreadful speed.
She did, 1:16.5. She really dropped back there because of some messy lines through 9.
Wow, she went from tied for the lead to 7th spot.
And she knows where that time went. She hit out of Kreisel, she hit out of 9, and she also hit out of corner 10 as well.
Fell into some of the traps here at Igls.
And when this happens, you see her coming out of corner 8 there. The corner starts much earlier than when she gets on, so her pressure peaks really soon. She comes low and gets high at the end of the corner there, flopping out of corner 9 and hitting that left-hand wall quite aggressively. Coming out of corner 12 here, bit flippy-floppy at the end of the track, and you know that you're bleeding speed when you don't link up the bottom section of that track. I flew out of corner 12 one time, and I knew it was pretty much race over.
Junior world champion Yelena Nikitina of Russia. She has had 1 World Cup start so far in her career, and she finished in 10th place with that and immediately zoomed off elsewhere. That was in Winterberg in Germany. Last week, 12th spot in Koenigsegg. Can she produce the speed to overhaul our race leader, Noelle Pikus-Pace?
Ms. Nicotina had the fastest speeds in training yesterday. Let's see if she can put down another one of those smokers here today.
Start.
5:49. Wow, incredible getaway. I wasn't expecting that from her. 47.7. She's hung on to that start speed that she generated. Let's see if she can continue to build. Nice, beautiful exit of corner 3. And she's had some races already this season here at this Igls track, and let's see if this plays to her favor with being really comfortable. 85.9, 1700s up in the lead. If she can maintain this heading, she is going to be your new race leader. Best exit of corner 7 we've seen so far. A little bit late to 9 here. Wow, she is having a smoker. 97.3 kilometers an hour. 118.2.
So
she's fallen back just a little bit, but she might have the kind of speed she needs to hang on to this lead here at the bottom of the track.
Just a rub on the wall. She's 500s in front. Wow.
Wow. Coach Schneider going, yes, ma'am.
47.7, first corner speed from an electrifying start. That all helps her in a big way. Wow, no wonder she's smiling.
Fastest at the top, fastest at the bottom. That's what you see quite often here in Igls, is the fastest getaway. If they can hang on to that kind of speed that they generate at the top, they will have it at the bottom. You can see her digging deep here. Long, rangy athlete. Looks exactly like Alex Trechikov, her fellow countryman at the start here. Runs over the crest and gets that power into the ice really efficiently.
Yep. It's all going according to plan for Willi Schneider.
Yeah, just like he had in his game book for game day.
His sled, his athlete, his lead. Next up, Catherine Eustace of New Zealand. Didn't race here or La Plana at the beginning of last season. So first time on this track in World Cup action, certainly for a couple of seasons.
See what kind of a getaway Catherine can generate here. Runs over the crest really well, but as we've seen her do time and time again, doesn't really make the most of her final step on the sled. And with a 565 getaway, she's got a 1600s deficiency that she's got to try and make up on the way down this short, not very technically demanding track. Nice and middle into corner 3 here. Smooth line out of 3 into 4. Working a little bit harder to stay off that right-hand wall at the corner of exit 5. Taking a bit of a bump at the exit of Kreisel there. Let's see if she can get across over early for 9. Nice and early. Didn't get much of a build there at the end of corner 9. 116.2, not going to be the kind of speed she needs at the bottom of the track to get into the middle of that log jam or even threaten for the top positions at this point. And with a 56.03, she's 3/4 of a second behind the race leader in 16th spot. Didn't have bad execution on that descent there, but the deficiency at the top just didn't allow her to be competitive, Martin.
Well, she'll be looking forward to going to St. Moritz for the World Championships. That's where she's produced her best ever World Cup results. Last 2 seasons, she was 5th place.
Bottom of the track here. Exit at corner 11, I believe, coming into 12. Not a bad line off of 12. We'll see some other ones get a little bit more floppy, but she's got a bit of a tail whip there into 13, and any time at the bottom of the track where you're not keeping those runners parallel and smooth entrances and exits from those corners, you're scrubbing speed.
Next up from the Netherlands is Joske Leconte. Career best World Cup result, 11th place. And last year she finished in 15th here.
Starting in the 19th position today, she's going to see if she can move up in those rankings. Definitely looking to get a second run here and improve on last year's performance of 15.
So at the bottom of the pile at the moment, Marion Thies of Germany in 18th spot, and it's entirely conceivable that she might not get a second run.
And quite conceivable she could drop out of that World Cup leading standing because she's looking for a 14th today.
Yes, she is. So there we were confidently saying it shouldn't be too hard for her to do, and yet...
Bit of a left-hand wall. You can see a piece of tape there flying off the ice as Joske Leconte comes through the exit of Kreisel there. Takes that left-hand wall hit out of corner 9. Smooth into 11. Ooh, but late off 11. This is going to be late off of 12, too. Didn't get the bottom labyrinth like she was hoping to. Bit floppy, gonna scrub more speed. And she's a second back as she crosses the finish line.
And 2/10 behind Marion Thies, who's in 18th place as she comes home in 19th. And still this big gap from first down to fourth place. Janine Flock, 0.32 away from the lead, is what's making everybody else bunch up behind them.
The top three medal contenders are sort of in a field by their own. Everybody else is shooting for the pseudo-podium here. And you can see Yaska LeConte coming off of corner 11. She might have hit before the entry of that corner. Subsequently, it pushes you low through the corner, and your pressure builds towards the end. You saw her get a little bit floppy out of 11, and that really makes it challenging to link up those other three corners after corner 11.
She goes to get weighed as Yelena Nicotini, you saw in the background, our race leader, waits for the truck to go back to the top. And our 20th starter of 26 today is Latvia's Lelde Priedžilēna.
Her start number is higher than her age, Martin. I believe Lilde is actually only 19, the youngest female athlete on the World Cup Tour this year.
12th place finish in Altenburg was her career high so far. She did a couple of World Cup races last year, so this is her first full season.
Just a slight touch early. You can see where the athletes are entering on corner 2. You can see the build-up there. When we talk about build-ups, it means there's an excess of ice. It causes you to go low before the pressure builds. And you want to avoid those when you're sliding down the track. And Lilde caught one there, but she's definitely missing it into corner 5, going in late and a bit hairy into corner 6. Coming in a bit too early to corner 7. Controlling that height pretty well. A really nice exit at corner 7, coming into corner 8 late. And a beautiful line out of corner 9. Probably doing the best job we've seen so far, navigating that second pressure at corner 9. And 1:16.2. Definitely the other mistakes that she's made on the track isn't allowing her to be super competitive with her speeds at the bottom of the track, but she did have some really bright points on that run there. She can be certainly proud of her execution at that level.
20th place at the moment, out of 20 athletes, and clatters into that right-hand wall. That's where the shoulders take a pounding, isn't it, when you're trying to slow down?
Well, when you hit those faux mats, Martins, you never know where you're going to go, and her head took a beeline for that right-hand wall there, and you can see her take a nasty bump on the finish curve. Dropping her toe there just to try and maintain some runner parallel, being parallel coming down the bottom of the track. Corner 12 into 13, not so bad.
Tricky little labyrinth for Lelde Priedžilēna of Latvia.
Her sled builder is carrying her sled there. That's not bad when the guy who's building your equipment can help you out with technical things as you're getting experience in the World Cup Tour.
6 sliders left in this World Cup race here in Igls, Austria, and the race already has 20 participants. So for everybody now, you have to bump somebody to get in. And there's the pressure for Romania's Maria Mazilou. Still just 20 years old, only been sliding 5 years.
6 athletes today are not going to get a second run, and at this point in the race, these are the athletes who are fighting tooth and nail, literally, to stay in that top 20 to get a second heat, because that's what's important, is to try to get the most out of your day and do 2 runs.
Well, she managed that on 2 of 5 World Cup starts last year. And so far, she has done it in both the races she competed in this year.
Ooh, bit of a skid there going into Kreisel. She did have a nice corners 1 through 6 there. Takes a good firm bump off that left-hand wall at the exit of Kreisel. Ooh, skiddy through 9. Definitely going to be scrubbing speed here. Over a full K back of where some of the other athletes have been coming out of that corner.
Well, she was 15th at the start. She's dropping down to the bottom of the top 20 at the moment.
That's because of the wild ride she's been having since Kreisel.
19th, Lelde Priedžilēna of Latvia does not get a second slide. At the moment, Maria Mazilou does. So who's in 20th? It is Yaska LeConte. Marion Thies is clinging on in 18th spot.
Maria sitting precariously on that bubble and hoping that the other athletes that come after her do not pop it. Here's her exit of Kreisel there. Really high at the end there, where the pressure builds and it shoots her straight left. Coming out of corner 8 here into 9, she's going dead late. That's a scary ride. So when the pressure peaks so abruptly as when she came in late there, her back end of her sled breaks out and she does a bit of a what we call a tail whip. Ooh, exit of 9 again, different angle there. You can see how she really spiked with her pressure. Coming in late, comes down low, and then gets flippy-floppy off the end.
Next up from Switzerland, Marina Giardoni. Holding the sled is her coach, Mickey Grunberger, from the Tyrol region here in Austria, so very much at home here.
Last weekend's start record holder of a 4.95 in Koenigsegg. Let's see if she can approach the 5.29. Didn't get over the crest there, and I don't think we'll see her get that close today. No, not at all. With a 5.55, she's not even the fastest starter in the heat. So from start record last week to being third or fourth on the start today, it's just really about experience, Martin, at this point. She's got to get much further over the crest there and get her technique down. As a bobsled brakeman in her past life, she's still working on the technique. She knows she's got it in her physically, but she's just got to work on that consistency and technique.
Well, she's a double junior world champion brakewoman. Helped two Swiss girls to their junior world titles.
Nice line through corner 9 there. Does a really good job of navigating that corner.
At the moment, she is slipping down to 16th place, 21st. She needs a great bottom end to the track.
See if she can hang on for a second run here.
It's going to be tough. 22nd spot. She is out, and Marion Thies might be breathing a little more easily of the remaining 4 sliders. We've got 2 World Cup rookies. Doesn't necessarily mean they might not break the top 20, though.
I think she's fairly certain that she didn't have the run that she was looking for. And you can see her load right at the crest there, Martin. That's not where an athlete like her needs to be when she's loading her sled. She needs to be 4 or 5 steps over that crest and have a really effectual last step.
And the speed shows she was only 14th out of corner 2. She was 4th fastest starter and just dropped time all the way down the track.
There she is, high out of corner 12 there, and middle into 13 again. That all starts with the exit of corner 10. In this sport, it's all like a domino effect. If you don't get 10, there's a big chance that you're not going to get 12 a couple corners later.
Well, next up is her Swiss teammate, Barbara Hosch, from the Engadine Valley, where we will be for the next 2 weeks for the World Championships.
Which by North American standards is very close here to Igls, Austria. In a different country, but relatively close. And these athletes do quite a bit of sliding here because their track in St. Moritz isn't open first thing in the season. So they come to places like Igls to get that preseason sliding in. So Barbara Hosch is no stranger to this track. She knows how to get down it in an efficient and effective manner. But already 1.25 seconds because of the deficiency that she has on that start getaway.
Well, 23rd at the start means that she's got to drive like an angel to try and haul herself up into the top 20.
Hanging on to the exit of corner 8 there, trying to get over to 9 early. Navigates that corner pretty well. Linking up this bottom labyrinth section quite nicely. Not getting floppy off those corners. Coming out of 14 and across the finish line in 23rd position. 2 seconds back of your race leader.
Well, she started nearly 3/4 of a second slower than our race leader, Yelena Nikitina of Russia.
The athletes are in the tunnel right now, Martin. This didn't used to exist. There's a ski run going over top of this, and they had to actually dig out and extend that breakaway at the end because athletes were getting to going so fast they were hitting the wall. And you can see Barbara come over the crest, load on her sled, and then what athletes have to do at this point in time is flip that switch. Turn it from being amped up and pumped to nice and calm and ready to execute your game plan as you descend the track. It's all cerebral at that point.
And the reason they couldn't interrupt the ski run was it's such a famous one. Franz Klammer won the 1976 Olympic gold medal just above that finish tunnel.
That's history. You don't want to mess with that stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, next up is the second of our Romanian athletes, Delia Ivas. Best results so far this season in Altenburg, Germany. She was 21st, only just missed the second heat cut. Again, that means that Marion Thies in 18th spot is very likely now to make the second heat.
She's fighting her fellow countrymen for that second run. She doesn't care that they come from the same country, that they drive around on a bus all over Europe all winter long. She is battling her as though she's any other athlete at this point in time.
Well, as soon as the visor's on, John, you've got to ignore, you know, friendliness and patriotism and everything else, because it is just you against this track.
It is, and a lot of time it's really, when you break it down, just you against the clock. And she takes a nasty left-hand hit coming out of Kreisel there. Gets over quite nicely for corner 9. But again, another hit on that left-hand side coming out of corner 9, and with speeds of 93.4, I don't think you're going to see her in the top 20 today.
1:14.0, that is the slowest speed we've seen, in fact. Just 71 miles an hour. Just.
You just say, yeah, just 71.
We toss these numbers out like it's really slow. 71 miles an hour with your chin on the ice. And because your head is sticking out in front of your body and so exposed, it feels like 171 miles an hour. If you have your hands in front, it feels like half the speed.
Well, stick your head outside your car window as you're cruising down the highway at 71 kilometers an hour tomorrow, or at 117 for that matter. And we're saying that this is slow for the skeleton athletes here in Igls, Austria.
Yeah. Or better yet, hang off the front bumper with your chin just off the ground.
Here she is at the exit of Kreisel, getting a really abrupt peak there at the end of the corner. And when you're that high, you've got nowhere to go but down. And it throws her into the left-hand wall, as it does here again at the exit of corner 9. When you're high at the end of the corner and the corner is done, you're going the other direction.
You can tell how experienced athletes are by the limited amount of bruising they have. Now, this is our first of 2 World Cup rookies. Maria Montejano of Barcelona, Spain, being yelled off by the man who's responsible for getting her into this sport, Ander Mirambel.
Not sure if she should be thanking Ander or upset with him for getting her involved in such a harebrained idea as throwing yourself down a frozen toilet chute on a cafeteria tray with rails.
Well, she trained with him as a summer athlete and used to pick him up from the airport after skeleton races, and he was always bruised and injured, and for some reason that sort of encouraged her to have a go herself.
Ander's a passionate slider, and you can see some of it's rubbing off on her. She's having a really good go here up until that point where she took that left-hand wall hit out of Kreisel. She's got good form. You know, she's keeping her composure. She's keeping those runners fairly parallel, and with 94.8, that's not the worst speed we've seen coming out of corner 9.
Close, 21st place, drifts away a little bit down to 23rd spot.
Can she get a second run in her first World Cup race?
Last corner decides it. She doesn't. She's just outside. But she was 18th fastest starter, which gave her the opportunity she needed. Another year on the ice, perhaps, and she will be in the top 20.
Technically, that was a really good run. She had some points that she can be proud of. You can see her here at the exit of Kreisel there, a little bit high. Comes out and takes that bump, but does a good job of maintaining her composure. Here she is coming out of corner 12, a little bit high and floppy. And middle into 13. That's probably where she scrubbed some speed that she could have otherwise used to get that second run.
Well, she was bright and cheerful when she came in yesterday. The whole World Cup thing is so new. You got the cameras there at the start. You come in and do your headshots and the biography and all the other stuff. She came in with Slovenia's Sara Lavrencic, who is our second World Cup rookie. And the two of them clearly travel a lot together, because the banter between them was worth staying in the trailer here for half an hour just to hear them wind each other up.
Well, I've never met Sarah, so this will be my first opportunity to see her slide.
Well, again, she tried out as a bobsleigh athlete, but was deemed too small. And it's Anshe Shatina, her compatriot, who's responsible for getting her in. He suggested that she might be foolish enough to try skeleton, and she was foolish enough not to say no.
Well, sometimes bobsled's losses are definitely skeleton's gains. We've seen athletes like Sarah Reed, who was interested when she was 15 in getting involved in bobsleigh, make the transition over to the sport of skeleton, and now we get to claim them as some of our best. And Sarah's no different here. Hopefully she can develop into one of the best skeleton athletes for Slovenia.
Again, still pretty young, 23 years old, only been sliding since 2010.
A little bit high there off corner 9, but definitely decent lines coming from this young athlete, 23-year-old World Cup rookie today. We've seen scarier slides down this track for sure.
57.68 is the finish time, so she makes it down safely and happily. 26th position at the end of the field, and she may not have been. Ooh,
but definitely gets drama points for finish in the finish curve, and that's something that happens time and time again here in Igls, Austria. Athletes talk about it. It's scary, it's dangerous, but that's the challenging part of this track, is staying off that right-hand wall. Coming up the finish curve there. You can see her going into corner 9, doing her best to keep it low at the end of the corner there, flip-flop swap. She hits that left-hand wall there, but smiles all over her face going, I love this sport. I'm sticking around.
Came here last year to the ICC race and crashed her mum's car. At least she's only crashed her sled this time. Here is our race leader then after the first of 2 heats here in Igls, Austria, round 8 of the Wiesmann FIBT Skeleton World Cup. It is Jelena Nikitina who won her Junior World Championship title on this track, and she leads by 5/100ths of a second over Noelle Pikus-Pace, the girl who is trying to win €100,000 with victory here to compile victory last week in Koenigsegg. So can the Russian stop the American from taking the cash? She won't be thinking about that. She'll just be thinking about trying to put in another perfect slide to extend that tiny advantage. Maria Oliver definitely not out of it here either. But from Janine Flock, Anja Huber and Lizzie Yarnell back, we can expect fireworks in Heat 2. They are jam-packed into a tiny little space of time, and all the way down the top 20, expect lots of action in Heat 2. Fast 20 go through into our second and deciding heat, which means that half a dozen of our sliders will merely be interested spectators. Joska LeConte holds on, Lelda Priya-Jelena, Maria Giardoni, Maria Montechiano, and the rest will be spectators for Heat 2. Well, that's it for the first of our 2 encounters here with women's skeleton in Igls. Join John Montgomery and me, Martin Haven, for Heat 2 coming up live in a little over 30 minutes, a little under 30 minutes. We'll be back then. Make sure you are too.